back to a theme that we brought to you earlier in the newscast about austerity measures. We've been talking about that in Britain, and that's also very much in focus in Portugal. For more on what's happening in Lisbon right now and what it could mean for the rest of Europe, we've got financial analyst Filipe Garcia, who's joining us now live from Porto in Portugal. Filipe, thank you for joining us. At this point, can the Prime Minister of Portugal scrape up enough votes to pass the austerity measures that he has proposed?
Hello, good afternoon. Well, in 2 hours' time, we'll have a voting in the Portuguese Parliament that actually may lead to the fall of the government. All the Portuguese newspapers say today that this could be the day that the government will step down. It is very likely that the Prime Minister will not be able to raise the votes he needs to pass these austerity measures at this point, and that may lead to a fall of the government. We have to see that it's a minority government. A lot of austerity measures were already in place. Popularity is low. And at this point, I think it would be a question of time of when the government falls, rather if it falls or not.
Okay, so Filipe, if that does in fact happen, as the Prime Minister has said that he will resign if the resolution doesn't pass, if this all happens, this effectively means that the government will dissolve, there will be snap elections, but how will this affect Portugal and, broadly speaking, the Eurozone going into the EU summit that starts tomorrow?
Well, I must say that at this point, I don't think it will have any devastating impact on Europe or in the Portuguese economy. At this point, it's more important to Portugal everything that is discussed at Brussels rather than the events here in Portugal. And we see that there is a larger consensus in Europe about how to deal with these questions. Europeans are now more likely to, let's say, to charge lower interest rates on a bailout, for instance. And for us, it's much more important what is discussed tomorrow in Brussels rather than the events, politically speaking, here in Portugal.
Now, this whole situation going into the debate in Parliament today has already weakened the euro. It's already increased the yields on Portugal's 5- and 10-year bonds. So, effectively, is an EU bailout the only alternative at this point?
Well, since Ireland asked for help, it was very likely that Portugal should be the next. I think the country has been somehow pushed to, by markets and even by European politics to a solution involving external help. Of course, Portugal has many faults. We have high debt, for instance, but we also feel that we are being a bit victims of the need of clarification of the rules on the Eurozone. And that is the most important part of all this process. And of course, at this point, Portugal is not able anymore to finance itself at sustainable rates. And because the risk of contagion to Spain is now a lot lower, I think the pressure will increase in order to Portugal to ask for a bailout, and that is the most likely scenario at this point.
All right, Filipe Garcia, financial analyst who's joining us from northern Portugal. Thanks very much, as this debate is about to kick off in Parliament in less than 2 hours. Nina, we're going to go back to